Well, it's time to dig in and preview day 5 of the French Open and the matches to watch for the Chris McPherson show. I'm flying solo today. Christian Monaghan from the first serve out of action. Hoping to have him back on deck tomorrow to talk all things day 6 as we move forward. And as we have the last couple of days, we're going to start with Aussie Watch. There's a few Aussies in action that we need to dig into, some interesting matchups. We'll start on the women's side of the draw. And, of course, we've got newly minted Aussie Daria Kasatkina, the 17th seed. She takes on Leolia Gingin from France. Look, it was a 3-set win for Daria in the first round over Katerina Siniakova, and she will head into this one as a really warm favourite. Gingin, the French woman, won the 2019 French Junior Girls title, so she is certainly not without hope here. She's a threat, but not a highly touted one. She's ranked 100 in the world at the moment. She defeated Irina Camilla Begu in the first round. It ended up being a third set walkover after she'd won the second set to come back from a love 6 first set. So it was love 7-5-3 love, sorry. She did make the third round as well in 2022, so she's got some form on the clay. Interestingly enough, it was Begu who there ended her run after she'd knocked out the 8th seed Karolina Pliskova. I just don't see how this one shapes up in the favour of the French woman, despite having the home crowd undoubtedly well and truly in her corner. Daria Kasatkina, our newly minted Aussie, should hopefully be heading through, I'd say, in straight sets to the third round of the French Open. We'll watch and see. On the men's side of the draw, we've got a couple of Aussie men in action. The first of those is Adam Walton, currently ranked in the early 90s. He's been up in the early 80s earlier this season. Hasn't really peaked much higher than that as of yet, but is in probably the best form of his career. He takes on the 17th seed, Andrei Rublev, who's going to be an absolute handful for him. Look, Walton came through with a 5th set win over Max Matra of Germany, the qualifier journeyman that he is. Walton will be wanting to work on his first serve from that match, 66%. He's certainly not going to be able to serve at that lower percentage and take a win here against the highly touted Rublev. We know Rublev can take on the clay quite well. It is Walton's one of his less favoured surfaces. It's only his second appearance at the French Open, so we'll see how he can shape up. It's going to be a big test. He's never come up against Rublev before on the tour, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do. I think Rublev will be strong. He wasn't completely convincing, but did finish with a wet sail in that 4-set win over South Africa's Lloyd Harris in the first round. So I think he'll shape quite well in this one. The winner of this will have a tough next match. They will take the winner of Jean Mounard and Artifice from France. That's a big match as well. But, yeah, certainly a big ask if he can get past Rublev here for Walton. But I think Rublev will probably take this one in 3. If Walton can grab one set off him, I think he can mark this as a success for himself. Also in action is the Demon, Alex de Minaur. He will take on Alexander Bublik from Kazakhstan. Bublik already has knocked out one Aussie from the main draw, having taken down James Duckworth in a relatively straightforward 3-setter in the first round. So lots of reason for some venom from some Aussie fans towards Bublik. We don't want to see him taking down a second. We know he can be a dangerous opponent, but we haven't seen his best in the biggest stages. He's been ranked as high as 17 previously in 2024. So based on that ranking, you would expect that he's gone deep a couple of times in some of the biggest tournaments. Unfortunately, he's only twice made it past the second round of a Grand Slam. And that was the 2023 Wimbledon and the 2019 US Open. So Bublik sort of at his ceiling at the moment, and it would be a big ask to get past de Minaur. We know the Demon clay is not his favoured surface, but he's certainly put in some good showings. So we think that he should be able to get through this one in straight sets. He is 3-0 against Bublik in their career, including 2 straight sets wins and 1 retirement. He's 1-1 on clay, having last clashed with Bublik in Barcelona in 2021, when Demon probably wasn't quite at the peak of his powers that he is now. So we're certainly leaning quite heavily to Alex de Minaur to get this one done. While we're speaking about clay court form, it'd be remiss of us not to turn our eye to the world's number 1, Jannik Sinner. And he comes up in a nice, what might be a farewell match for almost the John Farnham of world tennis, Richard Gasquet. Gasquet turns 39 in a few weeks' time, and he is playing in his 22nd French Open. Unfortunately for the Frenchman, though, it is the Grand Slam where he has worst winning percentage at just 59%. He hasn't been past the second round since 2018. We saw Sinner warm up and absolutely demolish in the first round, and I just don't see a way that Gasquet gets past him here. Yannick Sinner, the world number one, building and continuing, and he's one of the favourites here for a reason after what we saw with his return after his break from doping suspension. So it's going to be Sinner in 3 here. If Gasquet could do something and claim a set off him, it would be phenomenal. It would set the crowd alight, but I just don't see it happening. So Sinner in straight sets for mine. The other one in the men's draw before we move on to having a look at the women's, and I think this one's going to be a bit of an entertaining match, maybe as much for some of the antics as it will be for what's on the court, and that is another Frenchman in Corentin Moutet taking on the 6th seed, Novak Djokovic. We know Novak racked up his 100th title last week. He's outside the top 4 seeding, which is an unfamiliar situation for him. But he is marching forward and looking forward to taking on the likes of Alcaraz and Sinner deep in this tournament and backing himself, even though he's probably not at his best currently, let alone the best of what we've seen of Novak Djokovic on clay. This is going to be entertaining, though. Moutet, he's a theatre on wheels. He's a part-time DJ, a full-time tennis player. You need to check out his Instagram. It's absolutely, I was going to say electric, but maybe eclectic might be a better word. He's going to be entertaining. He'll ride an emotional roller coaster. He wears his heart on his sleeve throughout his matches. He's going to light up Susan Longland, that's for sure. But as I said, Novak looks so strong in a standard straight set win over Mackenzie McDonald. He's got a 2-0 record against Corentin Moutet, so I just don't see how Moutet wins this one out. It's got to be Novak in 3 for me. If Moutet could put up some fight and get the French crowd behind him, he might be able to find a chink in the armour of a less than 100% Novak, but Novak just far too strong, far too classy in terms of what he can deliver at this level. And so we'll be leaning with the great man, the Serbian superstar. To close us out for today's episode, we're going to cut back across to the women's draw and have a look at a couple of matches there. We talked about Victoria Azarenka earlier in the week. She now comes up against the 31st seed in Sofia Kenin. Azarenka actually leads the head-to-head. Her most recent win came 2 years ago in Melbourne at the Australian Open. And look, both of these players are, phenomenal talents in their own right. Both have won the Australian Open, I should say. It was Azarenka won her second 7 years after she won her second title. Kenin then collected the 2020 crown. It's a long time, though, since Azarenka was at that absolute peak. The same year, Kenin reached the final here at Roland Garros. So they've both got form in Grand Slams. Kenin, though, hasn't had a great run on red clay in recent times. She's 2 and 3. Azarenka absolutely came out of the blocks firing, holding her serve 12 times in her first round match. And look, she's going to have her work cut out, I think, on recent form after having won the green clay in Charleston. Going to the final in the green clay in Charleston. Sofia Kenin's clay form's probably a little bit better, but I'm actually going to go to the upset here, and I'm going with Victoria Azarenka to take this one out. I think it's going to be an absolutely enthralling clash. It'll be 3 sets, and again, I'm going to go Azarenka to upset the seeded player in Kenin. The final match, Barbara Krejcikova, the 15th seed, takes on Veronika Kudermetova. Both of these ladies had very straightforward straight sets wins in round 1. It's going to be an interesting one. Krejcikova, an absolute handful at her best. She needs to deliver that consistently, though, and that is always her challenge. She sits 15th in the world, as we said, in the seedings. Kudermetova, though, we know she can be dangerous. She's been as high as number 9 in the world back in 2022 when she reached the quarterfinals here at Roland Garros. So certainly got clay court pedigree, that is for certain. She's currently just inside the top 50 of the world. She's going to have a dangerous game that's going to match up really well with Krejcikova. She actually holds the upper hand 3-2 in their head-to-head matchup. She hasn't been the best of form in recent weeks, so she did lose in the round of 32 in Italy to Emma Raducanu, who's not a noted clay court player, as we know. So it's going to be interesting to see how this shapes up. Again, I'm tipping a 3-setter. I think Krejcikova's class will get her home. Kudermetova will likely come out of the blocks fast and hard. But I think it will be the check-in Krejcikova who will get it done and likely set up a matchup in the next round, the third round, with another Russian in Alexandrova, who comes up against an Italian hope. There's certainly a big slate of games coming to you as we get through the second half of the men's and women's second rounds at Roland Garros. And then we look forward to coming to you again tomorrow to preview what will be day 6 of the French Open and digging into the start of the third round. And as I said, hopefully we'll have Christian Monaghan of the First Serve back on deck. Let us know if there's matches you think that we should be previewing. Let us know if there's players you want to watch and you want to keep an eye on and you think we should be watching that are making their way through the draw. But until tomorrow, thank you for tuning in to our Chris McPherson Show special for the French Open Day 5.